Hello and welcome to the Listening Post's unboxing channel on YouTube. Today I'm clearly not unboxing anything. Today I'm taking an opportunity to go back into the 2.5 decades that I've spent in this industry and kind of relive some of the things that fascinated me then and really sort of grabbed my attention today. One of the very first things I ever owned in this industry was a YAMAHA DSP-A1. This was an amazing home theatre amplifier. Top of its game. Nobody could do a bit. I mean, it set the standard of analog home theatre back when Pro Logic was a thing. In fact, it's so old that it used to set if I have the inputs or things for the laser discs. All sorts of features on board. What it did was it taught me and the wider community how well domestic home theatre could be done from a single box home theatre amplifier. The DSP-A1 had some weird features and speakers as well. It was a 5.1 amplifier with pre-outs on a few other channels and things for power amps and all that stuff. That was, in its day, absolutely top of its game. But what it did introduce was front effect speakers. Now the idea behind it was that Yamaha used some weird DSP work and equalization between a height speaker above the television and the rears to create the illusion that there was sound above you. Now, for everybody today, that's now licensed and called Dolby Atmos or all of these other things that are involved. It was amazing to see 25 years ago that this box was available, this sort of technology was available in one box and from Yamaha. Now of course today, and this is what we're looking at, this is the RXA8A. This is their flagship single box home theatre amplifier. Today of course we are now touching on all sorts of completely uncompressed audio from Blu-ray discs, 4K discs, 24 master audio, 24-bit 192K on all of the 7 channels. They're being encoded with Atmos, they're being encoded with all sorts of things nowadays, which delivers such an immersive audio format. And of course the video standards have evolved as well. The DSP-A1 had composite and S-video inputs. It didn't even have component. And of course now we've seen all of those analog things sort of fall away. In fact, the analog sunset is very much upon us. And we now see very little use of component, virtually no use of composite video anywhere in our industry, and HDMI has become the standard. And that standard has evolved right the way from HDMI 1.0 all the way through to today's standard of 2.2. So we're going to revisit some of my lovely memories of 25 years ago about some of these single box by having a look at the new modern version, the RXA8A. Right. So, firstly, just like the DSP-A1, this is massive. Big, heavy, all sorts of moving parts on board. The style has changed dramatically. The DSP-A1 used to have a big volume control and an input selector and then a trapdoor down the front to hide some of the things that you wouldn't use day to day. Setups, radio tuner settings. DSP didn't have the radio tuner, but you know what I mean, those presets and everything along those lines. It was it was so heavy, and the modern ones I guess today don't have the same control of the bottom end and dynamics that some of the older ones did. But what they lack in power, they've made up for in processing speed, accuracy and overall noise floor. So nowadays the front's very, very different. Big central volume control, semi-touch display, on-screen display is amazing in these new home theatre amplifiers. It's colour, it's very intuitive as far as navigating through it. When you change settings of speaker locations, those speakers disappear off the screen and reappear when you apply them again. Boxes move around to help identify, and when you do a test tone it even does that graphically as well. So excellent evolution from a user-friendliness perspective. A big thing that we see today is the 3.5mm Y power microphone input. This is a little microphone. It is calibrated against, and they use DSP trickery to do this, right? Calibrated against studio quality microphones so that they can have a relatively cheap mic that may not be used a lot, yet its performance is equal to something of that used in a studio to do all the equalization and setup. The RXA8A has a 3, 4 and height setup process with 3 locations that you sit on, perhaps a tripod, at least on a decent sized box at about ear height, and then heights as well. It equalizes room effects, distances, subwoofers, you name it. Everything now, just plug it in, hit go, and pretty much save the settings. That's how good things are now. Yamaha haven't lost their very large, in fact probably oversized power supplies nowadays, obviously with driving so many channels. As I spin it round for a moment, we see its depth, and it's at the back that we see all these modern things that were even unheard of 25 years ago. The first and kind of the most obvious is these Wi-Fi aerials sticking out. Streaming is now standard on board, with Musicast now on all of their decent home theatre amplifiers. They have both network-based and Wi-Fi based streaming. They use dual band and can run wireless rears if required, although nobody buying a flagship product like this would use wireless rears. This actually has balanced pre-outs to go to a power amplifier and a set of balanced inputs, again absent from some of the first ones. One of the most strikingly obvious, apart from of course the array of HDMI, is the array of different terminals, binding posts for speakers. Back in the day, having 7 binding posts was unheard of. Well, now we've got 11 or something like, could even have 13. With all of the flexibility that these now offer, running 7.2.4 potentially in an Atmos environment, you've got to have a lot of amplification on board. And to satisfy consumer demands, for those people that aren't using all those amplification stages, the ability to separate off picture via an HDMI and sound off to a second pair of speakers with a full Zone 2 capability is brilliant to see in these modern amps, and this one obviously has it. Then the ability to do a third music zone only, or if you're doing 3 zones of music, do a 4th via an HDMI, perhaps to a soundbar or a second, third, 4th TV around the house. The flexibility is amazing. It's almost like it's got its own HDMI matrix switch on board, along with the ability to switch the outputs. In fact, it has a feature set enabling you to run, let's say 5.1.4 in Atmos. Okay, that's not an extreme room, but if you want to utilize some of those extra zones elsewhere, it will actually shut off some of the speakers temporarily and switch on some of the outputs so that you can have this as a heart of any number of different applications in a residential environment. Clearly a big residential environment for something at this level. So there we have it. My little ode to the first home theatre amplifier I ever owned, which was the Yamaha DSP-A1, and we chat about its modern equivalent, the Yamaha RXA8A, today at the Listening Post in Christchurch, New Zealand. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, subscribe to our channel.